What has MAPS learned from their MDMA trials, and like what has that translated into what you've learned from these trials with MDMA? It's
Mhm.
such a beautiful medicine.
Yeah, so I think early on there was signal that MDMA could be extremely effective in the treatment of trauma and of post-traumatic stress disorder. Rick Doblin has spoken extensively about how MDMA was made illegal years after the rest of the classic psychedelics were made illegal in the Controlled Substances Act. And so there was a period of time when MDMA was used therapeutically by therapists prior
Mm.
to being made illegal in 1985. And so I think that Rick had a really good sense that this could be profoundly impactful for trauma. There's some basic mechanism of action understanding around the effects of MDMA on the brain, the reduction of activity in the amygdala, which is the fear response, the fight or flight response, while under the influence of MDMA, the ability for people to
Mm.
talk about difficult material without having that fight or flight reaction in their body. And so it allows for the traumatic experience to be reconsolidated and integrated in a different way without that kind of response attached to it. And so in our first of two phase 3 trials, we published the results in Nature Medicine. We found that 2/3 of people after the treatment round, which is it's about a 3 to 3.5 month treatment window, where people are treated. There's 12 90-minute preparation and integration sessions. And then
Wow.
interspersed, there's 3 8 hour, 6 to 8 hour, we call them day long MDMA therapy sessions with 2 trained therapists inside the room. That's the study design. And so we found that in the 6 month follow up, 2/3 of people no longer met the criteria for PTSD diagnosis, and that 88% of the volunteers in the study experienced a clinically significant reduction in their PTSD symptoms. And these are just really remarkable results. PTSD is a condition that people tend to live with for a very extensive amount of time. I believe our average number of years suffering with PTSD in our population was around 14 years. So people on average had living with
Whoa.
PTSD for 14 years. So this is just like a really significant study across the entire world of trauma and has gotten a lot of attention from trauma experts and practitioners, psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists that all work with PTSD patient population. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just been super profound. We've completed our second phase 3 trial. We just made a public announcement that the results were, that we were able to reproduce the results from the first. And I can't really say more about that. The details are forthcoming and will be published in a peer-reviewed medical journal in a couple months. And so there'll be more about that soon. But what this means is that we're on track with preparing to file what's called a new drug application, and which is the final step that is required by the FDA to to have them regulate a new drug or a new therapy protocol, which this is a drug plus therapy protocol. So
Mm.
yeah, and that's really, that's the work of the MAPS Public Benefit Corporation, which, I work for the nonprofit side. So there's a whole bunch of people on that team that can speak in way more detailed ways about that work.